Women say no, but abusive men just don't always like the answer. And that's the part that we all just need to stop dancing around. Now, I made a video recently about a study where men were asked about coercive tactics that they used against women. And nothing about this study was vague. The men were not asked, have you ever misunderstood a woman? Or were you ever confused by mixed signals? They were asked, have you ever been in a situation where a woman said no, you knew that she was not interested in dating you, in talking to you, or in sex, and you used any one of these specific tactics in order to convert her no into a yes? Okay, they weren't being asked, were you in some complicated romantic situation where something was unclear? No, they were asked about situations where they knew she did not want sex. They understood that she had not consented. They understood that she said no in some form. And 95.1% of the men surveyed admitted to using at least one of the tactics from the list. They knew that she said no, and they still pushed and pressured and manipulated and coerced and found ways to get around her no. And when I made this video, do you know what men said in response? Well, maybe women have mixed signals. What about all the women who say no when they really mean yes? You know, she could have just said no. It's obviously the woman's fault. If a man's pressuring you, just say no. Women have to be more clear. That's insane. The study said that they already knew. So there was no question of whether or not the men knew that they were being coercive. That's the whole goddamn point. Now, the name of the study is Isolate, Inebriate, Intimidate, and Repeat. And it surveyed over 2,600 men between the ages of 18 and 34. Now, people were very interested in what specifically were these tactics. And I didn't read it in the last one because, well, you can look up the study. It's readily available for anyone. But it was told her whatever she wanted to hear, asked her repeatedly to have sex, had a female friend around for the purposes of making her feel safe. Now, a lot of people were like, it's normal if men go out with other women and they have female friends. No, they acknowledged that they had the woman there, the female friend, specifically to make other women feel safe. These men admitted that they told her that she wanted it, right? That they had the female friend bring the girl to you. These men admitted to gradually pushing, verbally or physically, until they got what they wanted. The list is very specific, right? Kiss her when she doesn't want to. Started undressing her when she said she wasn't ready or wasn't interested. Specifically kept her drunk and high if she was already drunk and high. Focused on a woman who you figured was unlikely to stop you. There's so many parts of this list that are disgusting and disturbing. But so many men just breezed right past the part where men admitted knowing that she didn't want it, and they still made women responsible for communicating her no better. So today we're going to talk about the lie that women just need to say no more clearly, and why women are punished no matter how they refuse, no matter what they say, and how this exact same entitlement shows up in domestic violence, coercive control, sexual pressure inside committed relationships and marriages, including things like housework and letting them leave and having boundaries, and just every place where a man believes that a woman's no is something that he should challenge. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach, author of 5 books, and I specialize in domestic violence, toxic and abusive relationships. And on this channel, I expose what abusive men do and say so that women can see through it clearly and exit relationships like this. Now, we have to start by acknowledging that the study was not about confusion, even though that's what so many worthless men said in the comment sections, okay? It's not about bad communication or awkward dating or how she said no, or she should have said no more strongly. She should have said no more kindly. No matter what, when a woman says no to a man, there's a risk. And we're not going to skirt around the fact that the way in which a woman says no is always going to be the thing that we criticize, instead of, why is the man not taking no for an answer? Why should a woman have to be more clear than no? Why does she have to be more clear than I'm not interested? Why does it have to be that she needs to say it 6 different ways to 6 different men? No matter what, I find it interesting because when a woman says no to one man, she didn't do it right. So she uses a different method with a different man, and that's still not right. No matter what, we're just back to the woman being the problem. But the issue is actually entitlement. Her no was heard, but it wasn't obeyed. Why? Right? Just say no is this ridiculous fantasy that men tell themselves. Men say this all the time, right? She should just say no. Women have full autonomy. All they have to do is say no. And what we know as women is that sometimes when you say no, he'll kill you. He'll spit in your face. He'll follow you home. He'll punch you outside the bar. We know this. Now, not all men, but how do we know which men? We don't, right? You guys refuse to wear hats to show who you are. I wish that you would. I wish that you would just say, if you say no to me, I'm going to punch you. If you say no to me, I'm going to harm you in some way, but they don't admit it. So we don't know. So women are doing their best. But this study proves that it doesn't matter how she says no or what she says no to. Men see that as an obstacle. It's like a challenge for them. Men love to act like women haven't tried saying no. They say no softly, kindly, politely, angry, no with excuses, no with apologies, no by freezing, no by moving his hand, no by leaving, right? No, they're tired. Women will make up fictitious husbands and boyfriends, claiming that they have one, thinking that this man would be more likely to respect a man who isn't here than the woman standing in front of him. These men respect imaginary male ownership more than a woman's actual disinterest right to their face. The truth is, men are very selective about what no they'll actually listen to. Very selective about the kind of no that actually makes sense to them. I don't want to somehow is a debate to men like this. But I have a boyfriend, well, that's a property line. So then they'll stop. And even then, many men won't. But women are often very tone policed, right? Look at what we're talking about, the way in which she said no. The problem is not just that women are told to say no, because we do. It's that women are punished for every version of how they say no, right? If she's too kind, he persists. Well, she was really soft, right? She should have said no much more firmly. Okay, so she says it firmly. Oh my God, she's so rude. How could she be so rude? You could have been nicer when you said no. You could treat him like a human, right? But if she says no, just firm and direct, no emotion, just I'm not interested. She's aggressive, right? But if she smiles, mixed signals. She loses no matter what. There's no perfect no. And so my thought, I don't know, call me crazy. How about when she says no in any possible way, you get away from her? You just accept the no. What if we did that instead? What if instead of making it how women say no, we just accept the language as it is? And we stop saying, well, what about the women who want you to chase them? You have no indication, sir, that she is a woman who wants to be chased. And it's probably better, you would think, to just accept the no and not say, well, I just assumed that women want to be chased. Because the part that these abusive men don't want to talk about, because it really shines a light on what's really going on, is that women actually have to assess their safety while refusing. So she says no, and it's like, okay, there you go. She said no. No, she has to do it with her customer service voice. She has to do it while she's going, okay, his size, his tone, where are we? Are we on an empty street? Are we in a bar? Will someone help me? There's other men around, but we all know that men are not protectors and probably won't actually help you, right? So is there an exit? Can anyone hear? Has he already ignored smaller no's? Should she be nervous? Is he standing in front of the door or is she closer to the door? Is there a different exit? Does he have a weapon? Will he be angry? Will he unalive her? Will he sexually assault her? Like literally this is reality. And people are like, wow, women are crazy for living like that. And yet it's the literal reality for so many women that are constantly thinking, is this safe enough for me to say no? That's crazy. And then men are like, just say no. Why did you just say no? Men get to make an imaginary refusal, right? You get to decide, well, I've said no to men. You've never been a vulnerable woman saying no to a man, okay? Women have to calculate refusal as risk. When we tell women that they have to be more clear or be different in the way that they say no, we're actually blaming women for men's choices because men could just choose to accept a no, right? Like we're not going to skirt past that. I would argue that's my key point. Men could just hear a no and go, she said no, I'm going to move on. But they don't, right? They see it as this game of cat and mouse. So they'll pressure and coerce and they're living off the entitlement. It's so clear how entitled men are to just continue. She said no, but I don't think she really meant it. take her at her word, my guy. Take her at her word. You're going to move on to go, well,
she didn't word it the way that I thought it was an actual no. I thought when she said no, it meant yes.
Are you stupid, Kevin? Are you dumb? Because I heard no. And women watch these things. We see this in bars and restaurants, and we see her saying no. We see the body language. And guess what? We know you see it too, because 95.1% of men admitted that they understood that she said no, and then they still pressured her anyway. And I think the key thing that we can take from that is that the no doesn't matter. The how she said it is irrelevant. So when men distract and deflect with, well, how did she say it? It doesn't matter. Don't even answer the question, because men like that are intentionally deflecting so that you're not talking about the fact that they knew she didn't want it. And the truth is, men understand the word no when they respect the consequence, right? Somebody says no at work, they understand. If a police officer said, hey, dude, stop. No, you can't do that. They would not do that. They don't want to go to jail. Often they seem to understand it from another man. They understand no from a bank, from a bouncer, from a literal locked door. But when a woman says it, suddenly that's chaos. She didn't say no in the right way. When the consequence is immediate and meaningful, men get it. So we're not going to pretend that this is a language problem. This is a problem with men's entitlement, because they see a woman's no as negotiable. But I'm not going to tell you that men are just confused, because you guys can't claim to be logical and intelligent and then be stupid when it comes to a person very clearly expressing no. But my point is that this is the mentality. The study was about dating. Now bring the same mentality. Let's say these guys get past her and now they're in a relationship with a woman. We can't separate this attitude from the attitude of men who commit domestic violence, because these are the same men who think that a woman's sexual no is something that they can push past, right? No, I don't want sex. No, I don't want to do all the cooking. No, I'm not covering for you. No, I don't want to give you my phone. No, I'm not staying in this conversation while you scream at me. But abusive men hear those no's in the exact same way. It's disrespectful. It's rejection. It's a negotiation. It's something to punish. It's something that men like this want to wear down, right? But again, the issue was never that she lacked clarity. It's that he believes that her no doesn't mean anything. She shouldn't have any power over him, including having power over herself, because he should have that. And literally, back up. Coercive control is built on overriding the no. That's exactly what it is. If she says no, he punishes, he escalates or sulks or get all angry and pissed off. He accuses her, he threatens her, right? She says, I need space. That's the same guy that's going to blow up your phone, right? He's going to flood you with texts and calls. If you say, I don't want to see you anymore, he's the guy at your front door begging for one more chance. And over time, she learns that no doesn't mean anything to a man like this. So what happens then? He made her unsafe, and no doesn't do anything because no means nothing to a man like this. So now what? She's wrong. She's screwed. She has no power over herself. As much as men want to constantly say she has the power to say no, all she has to do is just say no and walk away. It's her fault. 95.1% of men, that's BS. I don't trust this study. Who did this study? Where were these men? I bet you they just studied a bunch of men in jail. No, they didn't. Read the study. Don't comment, give me the link to the study. Go look at the study. Don't ask me questions about the study. Use your eyeballs and read the study. Absorb the information yourself. When you bring the same attitude into a household, it's the same. Sexual coercion, same. Domestic labor, same. The entitlement is the cause of it. If she says, I need help around the house, he hears, you're criticizing me. This is not a different thing, because what we're talking about is an attitude. That attitude carries over. These men that are dating women out in the world right now who are acting this way are finding themselves at some point, unfortunately, in relationships with women. And then the same attitude prevails in their relationship. The entitlement is exactly the same, even though the method might change. The attitude is what matters, because the attitude carries the pattern. Sexual entitlement, domestic entitlement, there's the root, right? A man believes that her body and time and attention and everything is for him. And some of these guys say that pretty plainly. I get that. Many don't. Many are much more covert, right? They don't want to ruin the brand of like, I'm a nice guy and patting themselves on the back. So they act like a nice guy. They're cosplaying a nice guy, right? But they act like her refusal requires some kind of justification. You know, he asks for sex and she's like, no, why though? Why not? What do you have, a boyfriend? Why won't you have sex? We're married. It's why? Why? Why won't you cook? Why won't you forgive me? Why won't you calm down? Why are you afraid of me? Notice the assumption, right? Access is the default. So you need to explain yourself. What do you mean, no? I'm a man. You shouldn't be saying no to me. Why is that second part of what I said shocking for some people? Because that's the exact attitude. I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. And then I'll be called a misandrist for saying out loud what men already say. I'm the misandrist? Does that make the men who say it misandrist? Very confusing. But this is exactly circling back to domestic violence. She should just leave. She should just say no. What a fantasy. What a fantasy. Amazing, right? Leave the man who ignores your no. Leave the man who punishes your boundaries, who floods your phone when you tell him you want to break up. The man who threatens you or threatens to hurt himself. Leave that man who doesn't take no for an answer, who takes your no as rejection, who gets dangerous and violent, or leave the man who might do these things and take the risk because you actually don't know and you're trying to assess. Sounds really easy, right? Just leave. Just say no. Just read a book. Just get a clue on how this actually works, because it sounds really simple when you're the one who doesn't have to survive the man's reaction. Men just keep making women responsible for their own restraint. You guys are logical and providers and protectors, and you're the threat. Imagine being someone's apex predator and then calling yourself their protector. I don't know what level of delulu you have to be to think that that's who you are, but get a clue. Women have to do all these backflips to be more clear to men. Dress differently, leave earlier, smile more, say no better, choose better, leave faster, say no differently, pick a better time, don't provoke him, right? Take accountability for why he beat you. Take accountability for how you said no. Take accountability for the fact that you were in a bar to begin with. It's insane. Why don't men take accountability for the literal choices and actions that they're making? I mean, I don't understand, right? Women should be allowed to be out and freely living in the world without risk of a man, right? If men are providers and protectors, then we're not unsafe. We should be able to go anywhere, right? No, because you want us to do all these things to keep ourselves safe from who? Men. Exactly. Men are responsible for hearing no. They need to hear no and take it. Men are responsible for their own restraint. What a revolutionary concept, right? Oh my God, I'm such a man hater for saying something so basic and so obvious. Now, this study revealed a big pattern because most studies are about 1,000 people. That's a really good sample size. This was close to 3,000. So people who want to discredit this study are obviously too stupid to understand how studies work. Men know, men push, and then men blame women for not saying no in the right way, even though men ignore the no and it doesn't actually matter how she said it. Women are constantly being asked why they didn't leave sooner or say it better or document it faster or report it perfectly or act like the perfect victim. And all of this distracts from male entitlement. It puts all of the responsibility on a woman, and that's insane. Women say no and men hear it. The study was not about men being confused or about women not being clear enough. The study was about men who already understood that the answer was no and used coercive tactics. 95.1% of men who are actively dating right now in a 3,000 person study, and that matters. Women are tired of being told to communicate better to men who benefit from pretending that they don't understand. Hit subscribe if you're not already. And if you're trying to understand coercion and trauma bonds and sexual pressure, dismantle the patriarchy, understand the kind of relationship you're in or have been in, then you can join me in She Rises Collective. It's my monthly online community that I co-host with therapist Shelley Pumphrey, or you can work with me in one-on-one sessions. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.